Hey, how's it going? This is Madeleine from Madeleine Hair Design. And this is my trusty little baby. Foxy's at home right now. I'm pretty excited because this is my first time filming with my set up ring light and everything. I honestly decided I really want to try and attempt to film, even just with my phone, like every day, as much as possible. Because I don't know, I love being on camera, and I have been dealing with being sick myself, not with COVID-19, but basically just all the stress. I feel like I've always put other people first my entire life. I feel like, honestly, I would say since I feel like I was pretty good about self-care and everything when I was, honestly, when I was partying and I was carefree. I wouldn't party too hard or anything like that. I would DJ, go to raves. When I started overworking, I started putting work before eating, before, drinking water, before resting. And honestly, I feel like I get my workaholicness not only from having two parents that were really, really hard on me. Growing up Catholic with a lot of guilt and shame, honestly, it's really hard. Like, people don't understand. I think people really think that, being an overachiever, like I've always been, when I'm 19, I flew around the world as a famous DJ. I had Jeffree Star as my roommate, and Raquel Reed. I honestly think that a lot of people have been, funny enough, like, jealous of my success, but I just think it's crazy because I've gotten where I have been from not just manifestation, but really, really hard work. And I think that's what a lot of people these days are really missing, especially more and more as we get into, the millennials taking over. I know people are like, you're a millennial, you were born in 1985, blah, blah, blah. Well, I was raised so strict, and I'm finally teaching my father how important it is to be positive, caring, and loving, and encouraging towards the people that you love. I think there's a, healthy amount of care that you can give to people, but you really, 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 especially as we get older, need to put ourselves first, put our health first. And I think that's why a lot of these narcissistic, psychopathic people that choose not to have any empathy end up being sometimes successful in the world. Of course, you have to be willing to work hard as well at whatever you do to deliver a skill to, I think that the reason why it's always been easy for me to make money, I've always been motivated to help people. I've always been motivated to show people and animals, other living things, love on this planet. And that's why people come to my salon. I had people come, honestly, obviously COVID-19 hit, so I started mailing out and shipping out a lot more wigs, which is really exciting, which is why I'm starting my channel. I'm also starting my channel because I think a lot of us are kind of lonely right now, and I just feel like it's important to really get real on YouTube and talk about, symptoms you're having, not coronavirus. I actually got tested for that because I was having some pretty bad gastro symptoms, really bad pain, horrible anxiety. Like, literally, I would wake up at 4 a.m. and I'd hardly be able to sleep because of an abusive relationship I was in for the past 3 years. Yes, I'm a powerful woman. Yes, I work hard. but I was alone before I dated my ex for 7 years. The reason why I was alone is because I was a workaholic. Of course, I would date guys, but it's really crazy. It turns out that all along, in 2016, there's an Equifax data breach. And I didn't know I was part of that data breach because I honestly wasn't using my credit for anything. They found out financial information about me because I was a client of Chase, and Marc's brother, Chad Wuthrich, just so happens to manage a Chase bank. Chad and Jennifer Wuthrich own Rich Capital LLC. They're basically, what they're doing, the Wuthrich, so it's the Wuthrich family. It all started, it looks like, in 2004 when Marc graduated, or Marc and Todd. There are basically 5 people. He has basically, I think, 4 brothers and sisters. There's Lisa Wuthrich. There's Todd Wuthrich, who's in jail. He's my ex, Marc Wuthrich's partner, in law. And he's in jail for 15 counts of sexual assault. My ex was claiming that it was due to the fact that his brother, he claims, was falsely accused during a divorce of child molestation. What I don't understand is, I know now that everything my ex told me was a lie. You can look Marc Wuthrich, it's M-A-R-C, Wuthrich, W-U-T-H-R-I-C-H. You can look him up and see his name has there's not even one good thing to say about him at all. No, he's threatened defamation of character, lawsuits, all this craziness, which it's like, man, you lost your law license, and he obviously owes millions of dollars from his clients. Why is it that lawyers can do that and just get suspended? Well, I think the system hopes that they're going to be motivated to pay the restitution, which he's never paid. I think he found that he can make more money, obviously, ripping people off. I would hear Chad Wuthrich and Marc Wuthrich both speak about robbing banks, and it turns out that they use they have access to black market data, as well as they know how to get black market drugs. Marc's addiction seemed to be testosterone and human growth hormone, which obviously wasn't making him look any younger, which is like pretty crazy that he was injecting all that stuff. I'm sure it made him feel like Superman, which, that's the Superman patch he had when I met him. I realize now that God sent me to him. I thought it was to help him. When his daughter and his ex-wife came into my house December 4th, so obviously they knew when my birthday was, calling and saying, oh, it's my daughter's birthday, her 16th birthday, and of course her birthday is the 5th, mine just turns to be 4th. I literally thought I saw a ring of light, which it probably was a filter. Even Marc had said that at one point around his photo. And I said, God sent me to you. I realize now that God sent me to Marc Wuthrich and his family in order to bust a large, gigantic Ponzi scheme that was literally stealing millions of dollars from hardworking people's 401k and otherwise. So what makes this case so stunning and so illegal is the fact that Chad Stewart Wuthrich, who manages the Chase Bank in Greeley, I believe it's on 49th Street. He talked to me the other day, basically, and I called because I'd called Chase a few times. It's funny, chat at Chase, right? Anyways, he really seems to be the ringleader of all of this. Marc is kind of the errand boy because obviously Marc doesn't have a job and he has a lot of time on his hands. They all talk to each other, they all work together. The people that are involved in the Ponzi scheme also include the head of law enforcement. As far as the only person that I know, because I have it recorded, Marc Wuthrich and his brothers went to high school in Broomfield with the sergeant of the fraud unit at Denver headquarters, which is why I realize now Marc moved me from, I had a small investment property and a small property myself around in Westminster and basically Federal, and I had a little home salon I'd work at on certain days, and then I'd have a downtown salon. I had, honestly, before I met my ex, my life was easy. It was easy. I didn't start getting sick until he started poisoning me with heavy metals. He did basically, what he did do is he bought, which I have proof of, fake painkillers, fake Oxycontin pills that sent me to the hospital once. I had a seizure. That's when I was paying for an extremely expensive penthouse that he put under my name in 2017. So our story is literally newsworthy. I would like to say especially my story because I survived the real life two-faced. I do have pictures that I'm going to end up showing that are legal to show because it's in a medical article that I purchased showing how Marc Wuthrich lost half his face due to mucormycosis, a flesh-eating fungus. He got about $1 million settlement, but unfortunately he spent most of it just asking for loans based on it before, since he became addicted to money after he stole millions of dollars from his clients, or at least hundreds of thousands from my research. So he basically took out loans on his settlement before he even got it. So he basically was driving around when I met him, and Carrie Jerzak met him in a fancy, brand new, self-driving Mercedes that's silver that would pull itself back. So one thing you have to realize about sexual predators, like the Wuthrich family, the ones that I know in the Wuthrich family, especially Marc, they will groom you. He kissed my hand. He took me out for a fancy steak dinner. He got me rainbow roses. They studied me. Literally, once they got my information, I think what happened is I walked into the Thornton branch, honestly, at Chase, and Marc Wuthrich has another brother named Erik with a K at the end, E-R-I-K, Wuthrich. I don't know if he still works there, honestly, if he still works at Chase. I wouldn't be surprised because I'm finally realizing that large Ponzi schemes tend to have multiple bankers involved, and what makes it especially illegal on a federal level is the bankers were posing with their criminal disbarred, suspended criminal lawyer brothers, one of them in jail for 15 counts of sexual assault to this day, Todd and Marc Wuthrich, posing as financial advisors. I mean, so the cool thing about my case is I never had trusted Marc to be my financial advisor. I could tell, when he got sick, basically what happened is he did this too good to be true statement of, I'll pay for 3 months of an apartment, I'll put it in your name, and just very showy. It turns out that he stole his son's identity. I don't know if it was with his permission or not. And yes, this is his transgendered son, who is in his early 20s, which is very unfortunate because he actually is the most intellectual one of the entire family. And he actually reminds me a lot of myself. And his name is Victor Ashcraft Stokes. He changed his name from Savannah Wuthrich because he didn't want to be affiliated. at least on paper, with his dad. But I am guessing, because it looked like when I looked him up, this son of his, that I don't know if he wanted to rely necessarily on his dad, but that's all he's ever known. I think Marc winning a large $1 million settlement when he really shouldn't have really gave this family this idea that money just grows on trees, as well as, and it's, easier for them, they believe, since they enjoy conning, lying, and stealing to people, stealing from hardworking people. To them, it's just robbing a bank. To them, like they're talking, like Chad and Marc would talk about robbing banks. To them, it's just robbing a bank. People are just a means to an end to psychopathic narcissists, like the people that I've had experiences with in the Wuthrich family. I'm sure there's very nice members of their family, but just like the arrogant officer who of the Denver squad that told me, oh, don't tell anybody, but I went to high school with Marc and the Wuthrich brothers. He looks like shit on his mugshot. I would never affiliate with him or anybody that he affiliates with. Don't tell anybody, though, that I went to high school with him and his brothers. Otherwise, your case will be dropped from the state. Okay, the more I thought about this, I had been struggling. I was just getting sober. I basically had been smoking way too much. Now I just smoke like a few hits of weed a day. After the smoke, I was getting sober and getting my head together and starting to eat healthy. I was realizing how sick I was. I came up with heavy metal poisoning, which has sent me to the hospital before when I was with my ex. But I was so focused on him because he was so good at narrating himself as the victim on every single thing. Originally, why I got with him is because I was lonely and I wanted a family more than anything, and I felt like I was getting older, even though I was only 31 at the time. And I really wanted a salon daughter. His daughter came into my salon. She was obviously great at makeup. She loved animals. She had an emotional support animal like mine. It's almost like they literally, and think about it, our birthday was only a day apart. They put on this theatrical, dramatic show for 3 years. I would kick him out, and then, unfortunately, I kept taking him back. It's not until my dad finally came to save me, and luckily some of the criminals he was working with who were trying to change their lives were basically coming to me and telling me the truth. And I checked my credit. Luckily, my dad's dad, my grandpa, he is a Secret Service agent. He's a retired Secret Service agent in Washington, D.C. For 30 years, he worked at the White House. He got to do things like just getting paid to smoke with Jackie O, obviously cigarettes, not weed, duh. They get tested. My grandpa was a fucking legend. He is an amazing man. I know he's watching over me right now. I know his spirit, I just want to cry right now. Thinking about my grandpa. My grandpa went from the military to being a homicide detective in Washington, D.C., where there's so much crime. And then he went from working at the White House for 30 years, and I would go visit him. We would fish for crabs and cook Cajun crab. This man inspired me so much, and I'm honestly a little disappointed that I didn't spend more time with him. I was so busy living my life. I was traveling as a famous DJ, fetish dolly. I'm trying to just be open about everything right now because I think, all in all, my stories obviously was always interesting, but now that my dad and I and my family, specifically me, have busted a large bonsai scheme, I'm trying to put as much as I can out there, because the biggest thing is that these criminals they want me to take everything off Facebook and take everything off online about them, even though they have posted a fake negative post saying that I am a cheater when he was getting, it looks like underage, my ex male escorts, calling them like some guy, for instance, that I have, because my ex didn't realize that all the screenshots he would take of the money I was making, of places he was going, he would screenshot things on my phone because he was using my phone as his own. And he was signed into my Google account and taking screenshots, even on his own phone, it would save. It's super magical. Like, God and my grandpa are watching over me. What are the chances that a DJ with no college education and just a hairstylist education, hood education, I don't have any, obviously I am on the autism spectrum, and so is my father. My dad is an MIT mathematician. He is a workaholic. That's how I became a workaholic. I actually am lucky though, because with my work I get to see the smile on people's faces. So that's why honestly I think my dad absolutely loves coming in here and seeing the smile on people's faces, and people have get their teenage hair back. It's absolutely amazing. So I'm so grateful, because now I had no idea. So many good things are happening right now. I know I'm all over the place, but this is how I kind of tell stories. I'm working on it. With the fibromyalgia, it's definitely made my ADD worse. It's made, and so it's interesting though, because I've enjoyed the time, even though it takes me a little bit longer now to work. I'd say it used to take me to do an install 2 hours. Now it takes me about 4 hours. Yes, and I'm an OCD perfectionist. Yes, that's correct. Moving them up usually takes about 2 hours. I'm slower because of the fibromyalgia. I do have points here, and here that are extremely painful. Certain days I have to take more edibles and smoke more because of marijuana, because of my headaches, pain, nausea, things like that. But getting sober really helped a lot. And being an empath, I really believe that another of my greatest friends, Shanann Watts, she married someone named Chris, as you guys know, in Frederickson. She got strangled by her husband while she was pregnant. I did her hair, and she took this beautiful selfie after I did her hair. She had lupus, and I hope now she's in so much less pain, because I know what it's like with fibromyalgia to live every day with shooting horrible, horrific pains in your body. So I am honestly realizing that being an empath is a gift. And Shanann Watts and my grandpa's spirit, they're here with me. They are, and they are helping me stay strong, as well as my father, who I'm so lucky is here with me, knowing how much I need good family support right now. I have a great support system. The reason why a lot of people get fibromyalgia is an extremely, extremely, extremely stressful, which has been the most stressful experience of my life. Having law enforcement do absolutely nothing. Literally, all they would do is send a message Jeremy McConnell, who turns out is a conflict of interest working on the case. I actually have to see where he went to high school as well, to see if he either went to high school with the Wuthrich brothers or if just the fact that his superior went to high school makes it a conflict of interest, and I should be basically changed to another investigator into a totally separate unit that is completely unrelated. So, there's so much going on right now. Like, basically, one of the witnesses to my case, turns out he was framed by Marc Wuthrich, aka the real life Two-Face. And I'm currently doing research with him. Basically, I'm very sure that this is a conflict of interest as well, because if Denver has a sergeant that admittedly says the case will be dropped due for a conflict of interest, when the case will not be dropped by the state, it will be accelerated to another, or changed to a better investigator. That is because it is illegal to have any law enforcement work on a case when they know anything previously. A person, they went to high school with one of them, which is very easy to prove, by the way. There's pictures of all of that, luckily. If I didn't have the recording, I have the recording, luckily, too, which is so funny. I don't think we realize how deeply corrupt our law enforcement actually is. Because they don't... First thing in the police handbook says, they sign something saying it is our duty as law enforcement to prevent cases from escalating to worse crimes. I'm sure you guys all know that the head of the, basically a detective, is currently studying a 15-year-old cold case, and called me about the Wuthrich brothers. However, even though I luckily have legally gotten data proving that Marc was transferred the deed to Chris Wells' murder for hire's car before Chris Wells committed murder, or ordered murder. He ordered murder of his ex-wife and someone, I don't know who was 50, around his ex-wife's age, to be murdered. The question is, I'm wondering, guys, what are the chances that I won't name his name, that a detective on the Denver cold case unit is calling me about Marc and his brothers and asking for information? What are the chances that Marc gets a life insurance policy from Freedom Life that he pays $250 for, and he uses his daughter's Westminster address in order to where he is asking for the policy to be at? The policy was for sickness or injury at work, and it said it was supposed to be paid out to me. However, obviously I didn't know about the policy, and they stole my identity in order to get it, so they would have stolen that money. When I called Chad the other day, he so arrogantly said, which luckily I've been recording all the conversations because this is just gonna be important one day for some type of 2020 episode. He said, just a couple days ago, I said, please, can you give me back my credit? I would like back my TransUnion. Basically, Marc created a username, Marc With, something along those lines, and connected it to an email. So I can't get into my credit bureaus, which everything's shut down now due to COVID-19. Soon I'll be able to call them. They took possession of my Equifax and TransUnion accounts. They took actually ownership of all three, but luckily one of them was open. The third one was open, so I was actually able to get into what's the third one? Oh my gosh, it's like the most, sorry. I am very intellectual, but my brain works very different. Just like most people, I have ADD, dyslexia, blah, blah, blah. I actually was in special classes specifically for math. I actually am really good at math. My brain works in a totally opposite way than most people. So I would always use the third way, not the second, but usually the third way to solve a math problem with a special teacher. That's why I'm so creative. That's why I'm good at inventing new products. So basically, Chad very arrogantly, when I said, can I please have my 3 credit bureaus back? And he literally laughed and he said, how about you give back Marc's emails? And I said, excuse me? Emails that you hacked into.